Hello students, Miss Swanson here, and today we're going to learn about the cardiovascular system. This is sometimes referred to a little bit incorrectly as the circulatory system. The reason it's not quite correct is there is also other parts to the circulatory system in addition to the cardiovascular system, and we're just going to focus on the circulation of the blood through the body. So we have quite a few learning goals for today. You should be able to describe the role of the cardiovascular system. You should be able to list and describe the organs of the cardiovascular system. You should be able to describe how blood moves through the cardiovascular system. And you should be able to compare and contrast the types of blood vessels in the cardiovascular system. So first of all, what are the roles? Well, it transports substances around the body. So particularly it gives oxygen and nutrients to the cells of the body, and it removes carbon dioxide, which is a waste product, from the cells of the body. It controls body temperature, and it brings immune cells, so the white blood cells, to sites of infection. So if we have an infection in one place and our white blood cells are somewhere else, it'll help bring those white blood cells to wherever the infection is. So let's take a look at how the blood flows through our heart first of all. Now imagine this is a person who's facing you, so this is their heart and they're facing you. So your right side is their left side and their left side is your right side if they're facing you. So the blood is going to start here in the right side. So even though it's on your left, it's the right side of their body. So it moves from the right side into the right atrium. So number one is the right atrium. That's where the blood comes in. It then gets pumped to the right ventricle, number two there, and then it gets pumped out through these blood vessels to get to the lungs. So in the lungs, the blood gets rid of carbon dioxide and it gets oxygen. So that's the important part of the respiratory system, is removing the waste product carbon dioxide and bringing in oxygen. The blood then comes back to the heart. This time it's in the left side of the heart and it goes to the left atrium. It then moves down to the right ventricle, which is super muscular, and that right ventricle is going to pump the blood all the way throughout the body. Sorry, did I say right? The left ventricle is going to pump the blood all the way throughout the body. So in some of the body cells, let's take a look at the intestinal cells. What happens is nutrients from the food that we're eating get taken from the intestinal cells and get put into the bloodstream. And also what's happening there, although it's not shown in the picture, is oxygen is going to the intestinal cells and carbon dioxide is being removed. And let's look at any other cell in the body. You're going to have nutrients that the blood picked up in the intestines, and it's going to bring those nutrients to the regular body cells, and it's going to take oxygen and put it into those body cells and remove their carbon dioxide. And then it comes back into the heart again. And I like this little video here. It just shows that you can have individual heart cells and they can actually pump on their own. So you can have 1 or 2 or 3 cells and they don't need to be part of a whole heart, and you can actually take them and put them in a little petri dish, and as long as you're taking care of them, they can actually pump on their own. So now we'll take a look at the different blood vessels that are in our cardiovascular system. Now we're going to take a look at the 3 main ones, the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. There are also 2 other types, arterioles, which are kind of like small arteries, and venules, which are sort of like small veins. We're not going to worry about those 2, we're just going to worry about the big 3. Now as you can see from the picture here, they do look slightly different from each other, but they do have some of the same main tissues. So if we look at the arteries and veins, they both have special type of epithelial tissue called endothelium. They both have smooth muscle, although the arteries have much more smooth muscle because the blood is coming to them under high pressure, so they need to make sure they don't just explode. And then they both have connective tissue, which helps support the shape of the blood vessel. Special to the veins are these valves, and we'll learn about those in a few slides. The capillaries are a little bit different. They also have that special epithelial tissue called endothelium, but it's a very thin layer, and then it has a thin layer basement membrane which works like the connective tissue to keep the shape and structure of the capillaries. So let's take a look at the arteries. Now This slide and the next slide, these are generalizations. There are exceptions when it has to do with the blood coming to the heart and the blood coming to the liver, but in general, they carry oxygenated blood and they take blood away from the heart. So these are the general rules that we're going to follow, that arteries carry oxygenated blood and they take blood away from the heart. Veins, on the other hand, carry deoxygenated blood, which means oxygen has been removed from that blood, and it takes blood towards the heart. And now let's take a look at those special valves that exist in the veins. So the veins have valves because they're bringing the blood from, for example, our feet and our legs back up towards our heart. Now the blood is not under pressure because it's moved through the capillaries, and so it's not having this pumping action from the heart like the arteries have. So the blood is just sort of trickling through. So in order to get that blood back up to the heart without being able to pump it, our muscles need to move. And as our muscles move, they push against the veins, and that helps bring the blood up. And if we then uncontract our muscle, the blood would just fall back down. So to prevent that from happening, we have special valves. So they're one-way valves. So the blood gets pushed up when we pump our muscles, and then when we let our muscles go, the blood will fall and rest against the valve and it won't go through it the other way. And then when we pump our muscles again, the blood will get pushed up higher and then fall against the next valve, so it won't come all the way back down again. Now sometimes people get spider veins in their legs, so if they stand a lot and if they don't tend to move those muscles, the blood will pool there. So one good thing is to always move your muscles if you're standing for a long time to get that blood to come back up to your heart, get some more oxygen and move around your body. Now let's take a look at the capillaries. These ones are a little bit different than the arteries and veins because they are super thin. Also, only a single blood cell can pass through a capillary at a time because the actual size of the capillary itself is so small. And they allow the cells to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. So in the regular body cells, the blood that's coming through is going to be containing oxygen, so it will give the oxygen to the body cells and take away their carbon dioxide. These capillaries are having that job. In the lungs, it's a little bit different. They are still capillaries, but in the lungs, they're actually giving the carbon dioxide to the lungs and then taking the oxygen so that that oxygen can come to the rest of the body. Now let's take a look at the heart. So the heart pumps blood to all areas of the body, which means it needs to be super muscular, especially that left ventricle, which does the big final push that pushes the blood everywhere. And finally, the cells of the cardiovascular system. For each human, there's about 5 liters of blood inside of them. And there are red blood cells, which are important for transporting oxygen. There are white blood cells, which fight infections. And then there are platelets, which help our blood clot if we get injured. So let's take another look at our learning goals. Can you describe the role of the circulatory system? And these should say cardiovascular system. Can you list and describe the organs of the cardiovascular system? Can you describe how blood moves through the cardiovascular system? And can you compare and contrast the types of blood vessels in the cardiovascular system? If you can do all these things, fantastic. If not, please rewatch the video. And if you're still having questions, come ask me in class tomorrow. All right, that's all for now. Bye-bye.